guiding principles which were set up, writing from the founding of the center, went a long way towards ensuring quality work and high standards which we have always maintained at this center.
It is possible to set up a government institution that will be successful nationally and internationally if you've got the right cadres in place.
The period between 1998 and 1992 went down in Uganda's health history as a time when the nation lost countless citizens to the AIDS endemic. Concerned about the situation, which seemed to be raging out of hand, in 1991, President Yoweri Museveni made a seemingly radical decision. He announced the creation of a research center that would focus on finding a scientific solution to the HIV/AIDS problem. That research center has today evolved into the high-performing and globally respected Joint Clinical Research Center, JCRC.
Joint Clinical Research Center is a joint venture of the Ministry of Health, Makerere University, and Ministry of Defense to fight HIV/AIDS, specifically to find a scientific solution to this catastrophe that was affecting our people and our country. It was a time indeed of AIDS crisis.
Dr. Ben Mbonye was the first director of the center.
We had a colleague who I think whose services should be recognized, called Dr. Jagdish, who worked with the World Bank at that time. And then we moved on to California, San Francisco, Professor Ziegler, who we had known, who taught us at the medical school, and who started one of the projects here. When we turned, we came back with a project on the escalating study of the SAT, and a conditionality from some of the donors in Washington, that in order to help us with treatment, which they did not want to hear about, we should start a freestanding program that encompassed all aspects of AIDS, in which perhaps we would be able to smuggle a small component of treatment.
With minimal financing and President Yoweri Museveni as the chairman of Board of Trustees, the center marched its way into the future. Dr. Kibende was the first employee of the center.
We started in 1990. That's when I came here and started renovations of the buildings that were offered to us by government at that time to be our headquarters. And government put in some money with difficulty. They found some money in the middle of a financial year and put it in for renovations. I supervised the renovations. And then later on, the following year, 1991, we moved here and the research started. It was just a handful of us, about 5 or 6 people who were promised heaven and earth, that the future is bright if you come and work with this thing called JCRC.
Mandated by government to find a scientific solution to the AIDS pandemic, in its early years, the center had to continuously deal with the dilemma of quack researchers who claimed that they had found a cure for the disease.
At the time when we started, there were lots of false claims by people ranging from herbalists and some quacks who were claiming that all kinds of treatment would cure or alleviate the AIDS crisis. Many people are losing lots of their money on such fake treatments, and many people did not know what to believe from the rumors that were circulating.
You get all sorts of people coming through, and each one of them claims he has got the ultimate cure of HIV/AIDS. He comes in and you sit him down and try to find out how he got to get this cure. And most of them will tell you, look, when I was in bed at about 9 or 3 a.m., I heard this voice in my dream, and they told me to wake up, go to certain tree and take off its bark facing west, and when you hear that, say, all right, thank you very much. Have you got any records of people who have gotten better or completely cured, as you're claiming? He said, no records at all, but I know it does it. We've worked with some herbalists, and I remember one particular gentleman who gave us 2 concoctions. One was for applying on the skin. It was a topical cream, and the other one was a liquid for drinking. And we found that the topical cream was very good against skin rash.
From the onset, the center put together the right team to carry the vision and the mission through.
The strategy that we took right from the beginning was to develop capacity to do research, which we did, and to indeed do research, to do care and treatment. And in this regard, we identified one aspect, and that is collaboration. We collaborated with those who have the money, who have the expertise, and are willing to do research. For example, many institutions out there in the West, particularly in America, have the money, have the expertise, but they don't have the patience. So collaborating with them, they have what we are looking for, we have what they are looking for, and why not?
In 1992, JCRC pioneered the use of antiretroviral drugs in Uganda. It also pioneered research into that ARV. This former serviceman in the Uganda People's Defense Forces, Sheikh Rashid Batejeka, is living with AIDS. The story of his life would be so different if he had not been enrolled on the Joint Clinical Research Center program. Today, he's one of the oldest living clients of JCRC.
I checked my body status in 1990 and I found I was HIV positive. And I got advised to join a Joint Clinical Research Center. And when I joined JCRC, I was welcomed warmly, and I found a study going on for those who were found HIV positive. The AZT study was on. I got registered on that study, and I started on the treatment of the Zidovudine. For 6 months, I was being picked from home in the morning for the treatment, and in the evening for the same.
Dr. Francis Sally is the research coordinator at the JCRC.
The very first study that we had here, I think, was the AZT study. And that study was looking into the optimal dose that one would use of that drug to try to treat HIV. At that time, AZT was the only drug that had been known to have some effect on HIV. So that was one among the pioneer studies.
After registering remarkable success in the AZT studies, JCRC started its climb to the top. With its team of highly professional and dedicated staff, it was a smooth climb. The center focused on attracting international friends and conducting research based on internationally acceptable procedures. Dr. Sise Chityo is the Deputy Director, Research and Clinical Services at the center.
The research we've done has made major contributions to scientific knowledge internationally, and some of the findings we've had have had a major impact on policy development locally for treatment guidelines and HIV care, but also internationally. One project that we did with Bergen University in Norway resulted into a policy at the European Union on how to conduct ethical research in developing countries.
The global impact of the JCRC research got the center the international reputation it needed. This marked the no turning back point.
We also are involved in a lot of basic science research in the lab, and we have special research labs that are specifically set up, for example, to look at vaccine evaluation. There are other labs that are set up to look at resistance of HIV to both antiretroviral drugs and tuberculosis. And we are looking at how antiretroviral drugs interact with each other. This is pharmacokinetic studies. And also in the lab, we are looking at how people respond to HIV, immune responses to HIV, and also TB, and interactions between HIV and TB. So the arena of research is very wide, and this is just to mention a few things that we've been involved with. Currently, actually, we are involved in groundbreaking studies. We are a site that is part of the biggest trial in Africa that is looking at best ways in which to take antiretroviral drugs in developing countries, and this is called the DART study. This is developing antiretroviral therapy in Africa. This site has recruited 1,300 patients. We have a site in Entebbe for the same study that has 1,000 patients, and then Zimbabwe that has 1,000 patients. So this is the biggest study in Africa addressing best ways in which to take antiretroviral drugs.
We are the very first center in Africa to carry out an HIV vaccine study, and we are also the very first center, together with our partners at Mulago and Uganda and UVRI, MRC, Entebbe, other centers in Africa, to carry out a research that describes the best HIV treatment in resource-constrained countries.
One of the research groups that the center is a member to is the United States government-sponsored AIDS clinical trial group.
So what this means for JCRC is that we are recognized internationally as a credible site, and that's why we were selected through a competitive process. So we had to write proposals, submit them to National Institutes of Health, and this is how we came to be selected as an international site. So we are internationally recognized.
The other group is the Adult AIDS Clinical Trials Group, AACTG.
It's an international network of renowned or reputable research centers where various topical issues that need answers in the HIV care. They're usually researching on advancements in the care of HIV, and it usually involves a number of collaborative institutions. So ACTG does studies that recruit patients from across the globe.
It is through this relentless research and networking that JCRC is able to register results. Today, the price of ARVs throughout the country is cheaper and more affordable than it was 10 years ago. This is due to JCRC's vigilance.
In the past, when this treatment had first came about 1996, it would cost somewhere between 1.5 million shillings to about 2 million shillings a month. And through a lot of lobbying and also actively, bringing in generic products, we were able at least to contribute to the efforts that brought down the cost of the medication.
On the local scene, in December 2003, JCRC launched the regional expansion of ARV TREAT program. The program's major aim was to build its own capacity to provide antiretroviral therapy countrywide in an equitable and sustainable procedure based on the Ministry of Health policy and guidelines. Among the specific objectives was to set up ART centers in partnership with private and public sectors including regional referral hospitals, faith-based hospitals, and health centers.
This support has been in terms of medicines and supplies, and also in the terms of the laboratory investigations, which we were being able to do now from the year 2005. We have had the lab now for a period of 1 year. This has now lessened the burden on the people who have to go to Kampala for investigation, like for viral load, CD4, and other investigations.
Furthermore, the TREAT program aims at enabling the center to build capacity and establish a framework for quality ART program throughout the country, establishing a quality assurance program, and developing partnership with key stakeholders in the area of HIV and AIDS treatment. The TREAT collaboration restores hope, alleviates suffering, and contributes to the well-being and productivity of Ugandans living with HIV.
We recognized that whereas there was widespread use of ARVs, the information about these drugs was not widely spread. So JCRC took up the challenge. In Treat for Life, we give information on the basic facts about antiretroviral drugs. We also give information about adherence. We also promote effective use of ARVs and supervised use of ARVs.
TREAT is offering free antiretroviral therapy to orphans, vulnerable children, caretakers of orphans and vulnerable children, pregnant women and their spouses, poor women and poor men. Muzei George Odong, a resident of Gulu district, and his daughter are beneficiaries of the TREAT program. Muzei Odong lost his wife in 2003, but with the TREAT program is alive and well and planning for the future.
The benefit which I've got from JCRC, really, it is only God who knows. It's only God who can tell, because now I can plan for my family. Right now, I can even afford to pay my children in secondary school. I can even plan, go and do most of the things that I used not to do. Like this one here, she had just come from the nursery school, and next year I plan to take her to a boarding school.
Under the TREAT program, JCRC has established regional centers of excellence, like this one in Gulu, which serves the war-affected northern region. Through these centers, JCRC provides critical laboratory tests, including CD4 count and viral load. There are similar centers in Mbale, which serves the eastern region, in Kabale for the southern region, in Fort Portal for the western region, and in Barara town. All JCRC regional centers of excellence and countrywide ART clinics have been furnished and installed with the state-of-the-art equipment.
We have what we call the basic research laboratories, and then we have the research and service providing laboratories, or the clinical laboratories, if you like. Because we do not only do research, we also provide service care to our patients and clients. So the two sets of laboratory work together hand in hand, but with distinct objectives. The basic research laboratories target research primarily, which will in the end benefit the patients and the community. And the clinical and research laboratories not only do research, but also provide care on a day-to-day basis for the patients.
To support the centers of excellence, JCRC has developed a chain of satellite clinics. The center identified existing health centers and hospitals, which it has renovated, expanded, and provided with equipment and furniture. JCRC has also provided these ART sites with communication facilities and better drug storage facilities. Altogether, JCRC has 43 sites in the country and more are to be opened.
Our aim is to make sure that anybody who needs services in Uganda gets it. Until that is achieved, we still feel that we have got a lot of work, a big challenge to meet in order to reach our ultimate objective.
To ensure that the center and its satellite sites around the country never experience stockouts, the center uses modern supply chain software. With this software, a 6-month central stock is maintained at JCRC Kampala office and a 3-month stock at the ART sites throughout the country. The TREAT program, now in its 3rd year, is supported by the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, as part of the Presidential Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, PEPFAR. The strength of the TREAT program has also been the training component for all its players.
The training we offer is in support to the countrywide ART program, and that is to build capacity of health workers who are providing services in clinics. And these health workers, we train the entire team that work in the clinic, and this includes the doctor, the clinic officers, the nurses, the pharmacists and dispensers, the counselors, and even the people who support patients who are on ART. That would mean the peer supporters and treatment supporters. And we offer training because we know that ART is such a complex issue.
To ensure that the quality of services under the TREAT program is maintained throughout the country, a robust monitoring and evaluation system was established.
I assess more the performance and the gaps that are there within like the TREAT program. So we're basically looking more towards the performance improvement of the TREAT program. We tend to compare using indicators that were designed by the PEPFAR program, because it's PEPFAR that brought in the program.
The TREAT program has been successful. By mid-2006, the center was reaching over 40,000 patients, 8,000 of whom were new. This has put JCRC in the #1 spot of the biggest provider of ARVs, not only in Uganda, but on the African continent.
In the next 5 years, I think every district should have quality ART services in the country. And I think the capacity that JCRC has built would be able to be taken on by all the health facilities in the country.
We're organized, we are surviving on ARVs. We are united, deeply affected, we're organized, we are surviving on ARVs. Deeply thank the President and all his cabinet.
This is the JCRC Drama Group. Its members are clients of JCRC. They come together to help the center and government publicize the good in ARVs. Luke Semogerere is the group leader.
Kwegamba ekikulu nnyo bye tufuna mu kibiina kino kwegamba tuwulira essanyu nga naffe tuwadde abantu amawulire amatuufu ku bikwata ku ddagala. Kwegamba naffe tukyenyumiriza olw'okuba nti tuli ku ddagala. Twenyumiriza okuba nti tusobola ate naffe ogenda tusomesa abantu abalala batannatandika ddagala lino ne tubannyonnyola obulungi obulirimu. Ate ne tulabanga nabo tusobola okuyamba eggwanga okusobola abantu okuba encouraginga basobola okubeera nga bamira eddagala lino obulungi.
As more players emerge in the HIV/AIDS service provision, the challenge for JCRC is to remain like an eagle, soaring high above the rest.
Most institutions fail not because they lack scientists, not because they lack equipment, but because they lack accountability. And one strong aspect that I can identify in this place has been maintaining accountability, making sure that every system is accountable. That is the daily challenge. Even today, 15 years down the road, we are trying our level best, and we are succeeding in many ways to enforce and we continue to see accountability in every department.
The center, which is the only HIV/AIDS research effort owned by Ugandans, managed by Ugandans, for Ugandans, continues to enjoy collaboration and partnership with several international institutions. This has enabled it to be involved in various projects. The projects include the WHO Knowledge Hub, NIH, Clinical Operation Health Services Program, African Dialogue on AIDS Care, AIDS and Care Research in Africa, and several others.
Here at Joint Clinical Research Center, we are the coordinating center for research grants for many young scientists in many parts of Africa. We have grantees in West Africa, Southern Africa, and East and Central Africa, who receive grants and monitoring from this center. We are also providing training assistance and research grants to students attending Makerere University for master's degree, PhD, as well as Mbalala University and other institutions abroad. So we are building capacity for Ugandan scientists to develop in best practices in both clinical and scientific research.
Out of sight for the patients, but closely monitoring performance of the center, has been a dynamic board of trustees that has ensured the vision is sought after.
As a humble center in 1991, this center has been transformed into a hive of activities, the type, I must confess, I've never seen in Uganda before.
Today, as Rashid, Luke, and George celebrate another day of life living productively, for the JCRC team, this success has not come on a silver platter, but it has been a long and hard journey.
I have toured the unit now. There are big activities going on. You are still doing your first activity of diagnostic tests, those tests which we started here, 1991, to establish. By 1986, there were 2 ELISA machines in the whole of Uganda. Can't you believe it? 1986, there were 2 ELISA machines. One was at Zambia, the other one was at Racho Hospital. But here,